Okay, so ingredients, we have flour. This is it's actually a flour that we use for production udon noodles, which like thicker noodles. That's Japanese noodles, and then so the protein content is 8.5%, and the ash content is actually very low, 0.34%. And we have a salt. We have oil. That's just vegetable oil, and that's just currency. It's like just 0.1% to the weight of flour. So that's about like 4 grams. Like this is 4 kilograms. So it's 4 grams, and then it's water. And so these are the liquid ingredients, and hydration ratio is actually 40%, 40% to the weight of flour. So that's 1.6 kilograms of liquid, including the salt and oil and currency. So dissolved in the water. So these are the ingredients. So what I'm doing, we're making the first batch of Lanьчжоу Ramen noodles in this machine. So this machine is called Rичмен 1 machine. And so rich, of course, like rich, right? Rich. Men means noodles in Japanese, so that's kind of like rich noodles, but like, and then it's one type 1 machine, and it's an all-in-one noodle machine that it's like it's got everything, like all the functions that you need to start making your craft noodles from scratch, and you can make around 100 portions of fresh noodles in an hour from scratch in this machine. All right, so she put on timer like for 1 minute, and it just mixed it just with the flour, and so she's pouring the liquid. Remember, the liquid has water, oil, and currency and salt. And so like she just poured the liquid like onto the lid, which has a small holes, right? Small holes. So that this liquid will like drip through the holes, right? And then so that the liquid is added to the flour little by little to render the good hydration of dough. And we don't have time to like kind of wait for the mixture to be done. So she prepared another batch of dough. That's two kilogram batch, and 40% hydration ratio, like so same dough. And so the first process that she's going to do is that like on this machine that she's going to make rough sheet of dough. We call it rough forming. And so what she's doing like is that like she's feeding the dough into a set of rollers. That's that's uh, that's set to 2 millimeter in roller gap. And so the sheet of dough like comes out on the other side, and it's going slow because we want to apply like really good pressure in the dough. Remember, like in this process, like we are still developing the gluten structure inside dough, so we want to apply sufficient pressure in the dough into the dough to develop the gluten structure inside dough. So as I said, like Lanzhou Ramen is like handmade noodles, and it's kind of hard to make noodles that are like traditionally like authentically like, handmade on a noodle machine. But it's possible. But it's possible to um, make them and make them really good on the noodle machine. You just have to have like the recipes, and then proper ingredients. That's it. And so we have like over thousand thousand noodle recipes because like we every time like we communicate with our customers, who want to start doing like house-made noodles. They have their own sort of like recipes, and they every time like they try to every time they try to like develop the recipe or like noodles on our noodle machines. So we work with them, and so we try to figure out what the recipe is like, what the noodle, I mean, what the flour should be, what the flour should be like. You may have to like blend like more than one flour to get that, bring out that noodle texture, the flavor, and you figure out the hydration ratio, like percentage of the hydration ratio, and then what kind of concentrate like we have to use, and then how many percent of like potassium carbonate, sodium carbonate need to be. So all these like we have to figure out so over the 45 years, we've developed a lot of noodle recipes, and like so it's way more than like 1,000 noodle recipes. So every time like we sort of like help our customers like develop their own noodle recipes from scratch. We are adding new noodle recipes to our database. So that helps, right? That really helps our customers, and so that's what we do. So even though like if you're like trying to make like kind of some unique noodles that you haven't really tried anywhere else, like we could help you. We could help you develop that recipe. We own like craft noodles. So especially this is a soft dough, like 40% hydration ratio. So it's very soft, like that. The dough itself like very soft, like so. You may want to kind of handle the dough like kind of gently, not to rip it. And so after the rough forming, so we have like rough sheet of dough now, and what we're doing now is that like we are separating it into two sheets and combining them into one sheet again through the rollers, and we call it a combining process. So this dough is still like pretty fragile because we just made like rough sheet of dough out of mixer. Um, so that's and we want to make it firm, but we want to make it stronger. And this combining process does that. So that those surface like becomes smoother, sleeker, and it's getting firmer. So this combining process is like what we do like to strengthen the noodle texture and develop a gluten structure. And again, like this time around, like we are again like going slowly. And to make like high hydration noodles, you also have noodle machines that are designed to produce high hydration ratio noodles. high hydration ratio noodles, we're talking about like over 45% up to like 55% or so. And we call this machine like udon machine, and it has you can make like beautiful noodles on this machine too, but like the kind of the condition of dough will be like very different. Like it's more like bigger chunks of like crumbles dough. So it's there are kind of like more difficult to handle in this kind of like noodle machine, ramen machine. Like udon machine is also very easy to use. Like we have like all-in-one models that you can make beautiful noodles from scratch. So after the first combining process, we are doing another round of combining process to make sure that the gluten structure inside dough is perfectly developed. And from this point on, in the combining process, we wanted to stick the dough sheet together. But like after the second combining process, all we had, the gluten structure inside dough is totally developed. So all we had to do is just thin it. So in thinning, we don't want the noodles to be stuck together. So that's why we start dusting. And you can adjust the amount of dusting and use these high hydration ratio noodles. So we should be dusting a lot of dusting powder. And dusting powder we use is it's actually made of in Japan, like it's like we use like kind of special dusting powder, which is made of kind of palm tree starch, and well, like it's hard to procure it like in overseas. So overseas we use usually use like corn starch or like potato starch that helps noodles from sticking. So after second combining process, all we have to just thin it to the final thickness. And Lanьчжоу Ramen shop, like I said that like you can, as a customer, you can choose from like maybe like 9, 10 options, different sizes, different shapes, and but like they use the same dough, basically the same dough. So but the texture, so they have like varying textures, because like the shapes and the different shapes and different sizes bring out like different variety of noodle textures. It's kind of fun to select the noodles every time like we go to the Lanьчжоу Ramen shop, and we can actually offer a few options on the noodles this way, like by making the Lanьчжоу Ramen noodles on the ramen machine by using the same dough but different thickness and colors. So we're trying to show you guys how we can do it this time. So in my lecture, like I said, well, there are basically like three shapes. One of them is round, like in different sizes. Another is flat noodles, different width, and another was triangular shape and different sizes. So these are the three basic shapes of like Lanьчжоу Ramen noodles. And talking about like triangular shape Lanьчжоу Ramen noodles, it's basically we can probably make something similar by curling, making them curl, and kind of the triangular shape like Lanьчжоу Ramen noodles kind of like gives the kind of randomness in the noodle texture. So I think we can make something similar by kind of making the noodles cold. So that's what we're gonna try. Sorry, so after the second combined process, so we can speed up the sheeting process, go faster. And all this time, like we have to dust it because it's high hydration noodles. Okay, and so I would say I'd point out that the actual thickness of the dough is like always bigger than the roller gap that's gone through, and so that was like 2 millimeter, but like actual thickness was like 2.67 ish. So there's a difference of like 0.76 millimeter, and so we have to know the difference to get the right final thickness. So we're cutting the dough into the noodle strands using this kind of sliotar we talked about, right? And this is number 14, and that's 2.2 millimeter in width. And so what we're gonna try to make this cutter is that the triangular shaped noodles. Triangular shaped noodles. And this cutter is the shape of it is square. So it's kind of like regular shape of, for ramen noodles. And by calling the noodles, they are cut with this sliotar cutter. I think we maybe will like make something similar in noodle texture to the triangular shaped noodles. And you can make them curly by using the attachment part on the cutter. And you know, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna make them curly by hand later. And with this machine, you can actually change the portion size, serving size, by making it longer, making it shorter. It's very easy. You just have to touch on the length and volume knob. And so she's making curly by hand. So you just kind of like squeeze them with your hand. And so like this is handmade noodles in a way. But like to make sure like they're not gonna stick like when you are culling them, you should dust like additional powder to make sure they're not gonna stick. So that's that's like the triangle shape Lanzhou ramen noodles on, well, like similar in noodle texture. So using the same dough, right? I mean, doing this way, you may be able to offer a few options of noodles, like different sizes, different shapes to your customers, who may prefer like different noodle textures. So it's very easy to do it using the same dough. But in terms of noodle texture, they're going to be very different, even from the same dough. even like straight or curly, the noodle texture be different. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting to okay, so I'll change it in the cutter, and just gonna make like something else, some of the shapes, some of the sizes. And so this is the round shape cutter. It's not exactly going to be round, but like it's going to be like oval, kind of oval shape. But we call it round cutter, round slither cutter. So I think that this shape is probably the most popular shape and in Lanzhou ramen noodles, because it's easy and quick to eat. Because Lanzhou ramen noodles is basically like kind of fast food. You know, you can go in and order, like choose noodles, and then and then they just start making the noodles like to order. Like probably 10 minutes or so, like you're served with a bowl of like Lanzhou ramen noodles, and then it's you can eat it like you can eat it probably like, I don't know, if you're Asian, you maybe like finish it like in 10 minutes or so, and then get out. So it's a fast food basically. So this round shape noodles are most popular one, and was like round shape like number 18. So that its width by like diameter is 1.7 millimeter. Can you see the cross section with the noodles like to be round, or like oval in shape? Okay, so that's the round shape noodles, and it's kind of dough out to save it for another shape and type of noodles. Right, so that's a round shaped noodles. So change the cutter and to this time like square, another square cutter, but like this time like it's wider cutter, number 10. So number 10 means that's 3 millimeter in width. So this time like we are making the flat noodles. So to make flat noodles, the flat noodles, thickness is smaller, and so that's 3 millimeter width, and so the thickness would be like around 1.6 or so, 0.5 millimeter. And you can of course like make it thinner by adjusting the roller gap. So they may not be like as wide as some of the widest Lando ramen noodles, but you know these are flat noodles, and some people prefer it. And they're as soft as you can cut them, like you can break them with your lips instead of like teeth. It's pretty easy to make different shapes, different sizes. You're using different cutters and adjusting the roller gap in this machine from the same dough, even from the same dough, making different shapes and sizes. Noodle texture will be like very different. So, you know, it's something that you should think about offering to offer your customers. You know, for customers like some options for the sizes. And it's very easy, and you can make them really with a precision of like thickness and with